number 5.
Ladies and gentlemen, our first bout this evening is a 6 3-minute rounds contest in the welterweight division. Firstly, fighting out of the red corner, having his 40th contest this evening, weighing in 151 pounds and 5 ounces. Tonight, he wears the black and orange shorts. Please welcome from Sheffield, Yorkshire, Owen Durnan. And across the ring in the blue corner, unbeaten with 4 wins, weighing in 152 pounds 4 ounces. And tonight he wears the blue and white shorts. Please welcome from Southend-on-Sea, Essex, Hamzah. Your referee is Mr. Kieran McCann, who will give his instructions to both boxers.
There was a quick dash back to the dressing room by Durnan's corner man to make sure that he's got the right gum shield.
Break clean, take a step back, throw no punches. Mind your heads in close, lads, and most importantly, protect yourself at all times. Shake hands.
Better before the bell than after.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is 6 3-minute rounds.
Yes, he definitely does now.
Seconds out, round 1.
So the opening contest tonight, live on the Boxnation YouTube channel. Welcome everybody. Trinity and Warren Boxing Management presenting this terrific lineup tonight. It is an early start, but a young man to keep an eye on. Young in terms of career, if not actual age, Richie Hamzah, but at 28, looking to extend the winning run at the start of his pro career to 5 out of 5, and a nice tidy start here from him.
Yeah, tidy start, and looking at his career, he's obviously left it a little bit late to turn professional, but nevertheless there's still time on his side at welterweight. 28 isn't a really old age to be quite honest, but he'll have to get a move on, and he's 4-0 at the moment. He's got a good start. He's in against a southpaw who knows what he's doing, Owen Durnan. There's no doubt about that. He's never been stopped, remember. This is his 22nd contest this year, so he's really, really busy. And this will be a strange sort of test for Hamzah, but because when you're boxing this type of opponent, it's not only a physical challenge, but mentally as well. You've got to watch. You just don't get frustrated against someone who's difficult to actually get to.
Scheduled for 6 tonight, and I think one of the things we are looking for at this stage in his career, Richie, is if Butt can wind the clock up as the minutes go by, increase the tempo, and therefore put Durnan under more and more pressure so that mistakes start to follow.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Durnan, he's very good on the back foot. He knows how to avoid shots, and he's clever. So with that type of opponent, yeah, plenty of pressure, I think, and probably boxing at a nice quick pace. Because Durnan won't want that. He'll want to slow it down so he can see the attacks coming. So Hamzah, but he's got to do totally the opposite on that front foot. Pressure him, double up the attacks, and just push him back onto the ropes and put him under a little bit more pressure.
I think when we've seen him previously, Richie, that little exchange there is a good example, actually. The opening phase of it, as you as a coach, esteemed coach as you are, you'd say the first phase was good, but it's the second and third phases when he's trying to come forward that you've had a little question mark about.
Yeah, and that's probably the second and third phases of what's important in this situation here, because the first phase, Durnan obviously can handle that. So you've got to put him under a little bit more pressure, go 2 and obviously 3 times sometimes. And like I say, just box at a quicker pace without being reckless, because you've still got to go in there with a good guard and make sure that, you know, what's coming back at you, that you're not taking shots as you're walking forward. But nevertheless, it's pace and pressure here. Going 2 and 3 times, I think, is the order of the day for Hamzah Butt here.
1 or 2 little glimpses of the target. He didn't really want to throw that right hand when the opportunity presented. I'd say without an eye-catching shot, he's claimed the round without a problem. Kieran McCann is about to call a halt at the end of this first round. And a nice tidy start, if not at top speed, but when we have a third member of our commentary team tonight, and we call him the steam train, the one and only Echo Esserman. Delighted to have your company for these early fights tonight, Echo. Sam Gilly will join us later. What did you make of that?
Oh, thanks so much for having me. I think, yeah, Hamzah started off that first round establishing his distance, his jab. He was, as Richie mentioned, he was establishing that first kind of wave of attacks, but he needed to follow up on that to further get his points or his shots across. And I think once he turns the screw, he'll get a lot more success.
It was very interesting in our build-up to the live action tonight to hear from you about your plans for this massive fight. Great
Corners,
career
10
opportunity.
seconds.
You worked so hard to get there. Echo, I know that going back many years. Delighted for you. And of course, we'll continue to
Seconds out.
thread a little bit of
Round
the
2.
discourse about that as we go through the evening here. So let's see if Butt could do what an Echo Essiman would seek to do. Just start to press a little bit harder early in this second round.
Yeah, that's certainly what he's got to do, Paul. Put that pressure on, double up the attacks and double the jab to close the gap down. He's in against the southpaw, remember, so that can be a little bit awkward, especially when you've got a southpaw who doesn't really want to engage, you sitting back. And then obviously what he does as well, he just sits back and makes you overreach and you fall short, and it's a typical tactic from a southpaw who makes you fall short and comes back with his counters. But at the moment the pace is suiting him, it's not too quick, so Owen Durnan is really, really comfortable, although he's losing the contest. I think Hamzah's winning, but Durnan has not been putting under any real pressure here, not at the moment.
Indeed. The career objectives obviously are different, but from Durnan's perspective, already in his diary he's got the next 2 bouts lined up, so that's why he's keeping it long if he possibly can.
Yeah, absolutely. He doesn't really want to engage, but yeah, he's tricky, and like I say, it's a different type of challenge then. Hamzah, but going into this would be a favourite, but if you could get a stoppage, then that would be a real result, wouldn't it? Because no one stopped this fella in the 34 defeats that he's had. And he certainly knows what he's doing. He knows how to avoid shots, so that's the challenge now, is to get to him and sink a few in.
16 and now, that was at the start of the night, now 17 and a half pro rounds under his belt, Hamzah Butt. Very familiar circumstances here tonight as well. The first 4 pro outings all came here, and now at last he does seek to engage and up the tempo a little bit.
Yeah, that's a little bit better. Just a little bit of a lack of experience there, because he just allowed him, Durnan, just to turn him. But yeah, just to back him up into the corner, get him onto the ropes, because once you do that to your opponent, then you're really restricting their movement, you see. They can either go left or right when their back's on the ropes. Most of the time their feet will come square, and so the target's a little bit more easier to hit. So it's backing him up onto those ropes is the key. That's why you don't see Durnan on the ropes very often. He's hitting and he's moving. He's staying in ring space, and he's experienced.
A little bit more assertive from Butt. Let's be fair to him as well in one other sense, Richie. He's been learning and trying to catch up ever since he turned pro. As you mentioned, his age 28. Even all the way back to when he was turning pro, there's some great quotes from him. I was rubbish when I started, he said. All the focus at home was on life at school and passing exams, but I had a mate who was a boxer, and I noticed that he was getting to work all over the world, and I thought I'll have some of that.
Brilliant.
Echo.
I think Hamzah had a better round that round. He seemed to be more comfortable getting uncomfortable and getting straight to business, putting pressure on the ropes, and I think we'll be delighted to see him do more of that, and he'll get so much more success for that, because it's about taking Owen out of that feeling of comfortability and really putting the pressure on him.
That is one of the things I love about you, your use of the words comfort and discomfort, or being uncomfortable. And one of the things I admire about you is you've always had the mentality of a fighter who says to himself, it's about being uncomfortable. This is boxing. And you've always had that mentality,
10
haven't you?
seconds.
Yeah, you have to get used to living in being uncomfortable as a boxer, and that's when you thrive.
Seconds out. Round 3.
Now, a reminder, everybody, a scheduled 6 rounder, but it is high time, I think, that we start to see Hamzah Butt now, Richie, having had a couple of rounds to feel the job out, that he starts to take the job by the scruff of the throat here.
Yeah, I think that first round was probably a scouting mission just to see what he's up against. Second round, he's increased it a little bit. So yeah, I'd like just to see, like Echo said, just for him just to kick on a little bit now. And I think the bits of success that he's had it's when he's been putting the pressure on and backing his opponent up. So that's what he's got to do, and just sustain a little bit more pressure. So just keep the attack going and just make it, as we've said, uncomfortable for Owen Durnan. But again, I think ring position's really crucial here. If Owen Durnan's in the centre of the ring, then he tends to have full range of movement and he can get out of the way. That's why Hamzah Butt's got to try and push him back. Double up his attacks, get him back to the ropes, make those feet come square. That's when he can switch maybe downstairs and hurt him to the body.
Richie, just talk to us a little bit as well, if you would please, about Butt's footwork. To me, the stance is very, very wide. You know, and if you want to go double up quick, look how far the space is right now between his left foot and his right foot. How is he going to get the forward momentum?
Yeah, well,
and to me, Rich, forgive me, another consequence is he does actually start to come right over the top of his foot in order to make up the space at times.
Yes, he probably would like Owen Durnan to come forward, you see. So he's fairly flat-footed, he's Hamzah Butt. That back heel should really be off the floor, so then he's got better mobility. So he's a little bit flat-footed. Yes, his feet are a little bit too wide, and boxers with a wide stance tend to struggle moving at speed. Most certainly, they prefer the opponents to come into them, so they don't have to go looking for them. So you're quite right, Paul. Good observation there. A little bit flat-footed and slow on the feet.
Now
that's better.
Yeah, much better suddenly, and he's got forward momentum. That, as you've taught me, the hip comes through, the shots start to flow much more freely. Better.
Yeah, just got to get up on his back heel a little bit more. Back heel off the floor. You get more power in that backhand then as well.
This is much better. And Durnan is starting to just ship one or two reasonable, sharp shots from Hamzah Butt.
See, in the orthodox southpaw situation, the rear hand for both boxers has to travel a little bit further to the target anyway, and when you've got a southpaw who's moving away from you, then that right hand to the head is really, there was an example, missing the target because you're a little bit too far away. So that's why you've got to double up the attacks and maybe double up that jab to close that gap down, quicken the feet a little bit, get into the right position before you let that right hand go. Other from that, you've got to try and bring him onto the shot. But Owen Durnan doesn't come forward very often. That's why he's awkward.
Little by little, but is just ratcheting up the pressure, as we have hoped we would see from him tonight. We are neutral, of course, but is the home fighter, if I could put it like that. Echo, over to you on the question of footwork.
On the question of footwork, definitely in that round, Butt was starting to get his footwork dominance a little bit better. You made a good point with his wide stance. If he's going to have that wide stance, he really needs to focus on cutting off the ring so that his opponent isn't too far away from him to step off some of those punches. And it's funny enough we were talking about that because the second I was thinking I'd like to see some body shots he started to land.
Yeah, exactly. And I think he was actually listening to Richie because, you know, we're still waiting for the bulk of the crowd to come in, and I know that in certain circumstances at ringside one can be heard, and I think the second half of that round was much better, Richie, when you pointed it out.
Yeah, well, it was because he was actually pushing him back to the ropes as well, and then obviously the movement's restricted, Echo, isn't it, from Durnan?
Round 4.
Definitely.
So under no pressure from Owen Durnan, it's a comfortable lead for Hamzah Butt at this stage of this at welterweight. Every show we say it also, though, huge opportunity, the watching public, the real hardcore boxing fans all around the United Kingdom and further afield. They are looking to see who's on the way up and who can make a noise, and this is why it's such an unmissable opportunity when there is a fight night like this for a fighter like Hamzah Butt to make a very good impression. There's so many shows that don't get any TV coverage, and you know that can be the step down if one does not take the opportunities that present.
I think the way to impress here, Paul, would be to try and force that stoppage. It's obviously going to be difficult. Durnan's good chin, good movement. He's difficult to nail with a shot, but that's the challenge, isn't it, for Hamzah? But he's got to just box with a little bit quicker and, like I say, quicken that tempo up a little bit more. But Durnan, difficult man to actually get to. Look, he's always on the move. He's hitting, he's moving, knows his way around the ring. he knows the part that he's playing here. He's not really competitive, but at the same time, he's difficult to actually get to engage and to get to.
He's really good at giving the prospect, in inverted commas, rounds, is Durnan. He's making his living doing that these days. And it works for him. Since the win over Billy Neal, which was his only win in the last 10, that was in May of this year, Richie. He's fought 10 times.
Incredible, yeah. He probably uses the actual fights as part of his training program, to be quite honest, because I bet he's not doing much sparring. He's fighting on the road, isn't he? And that's how he gets fit. Look at that. Brilliant. For a sneaky little shot there. So you can't take things for granted with him. There was a good opportunity there, Hamzah, but going forward, but then just gets caught with a punch from Durnan, who just sat back and just brought him onto a left hand. That was a good little sneaky shot. So yeah, he's clever.
We haven't had any of this kind of stuff before this moment in this fight tonight. Durnan's happy to try to tie Hamzah Butt up.
Yeah, so he's just testing Hamzah Butt on the inside there, seeing what he's got, and that's an opportunity for Hamzah Butt to let them hands go. Yeah. Because Durnan, he's always on the move, he's hitting and moving now, that's mainly his style. So when he does hold the feet and it does allow you on the inside, you've got to let your hands go. You know, and like I say, Durnan is probably just testing Butt on the inside to see what he's got. But Hamzah Butt, he's got to take the carrot and let those hands go on the inside.
So the end of 4 coming up, but boxing within himself at all times, looking composed, and 1 or 2 flashes of good work. Durnan surviving very capably indeed. On the way in here at the York Hall, Bethnal Green tonight, the first person I met was Alan Smith, one of the top trainers from the southeast. And one of Alan Smith's great phrases, Echo, is 20 for learning, 20 for earning. And this is pro fight number 5 tonight for Hamzah. But are you still seeing a fighter with the L plates on yourself here?
I feel like, well, I'm not too sure how many southpaws he's fought, but I feel like this is a great learning fight for him, because he's got a good mover in Owen, and he now needs to kind of click onto the fact that Owen keeps moving to his right, maybe set a trap for him, throw a looping right hand as opposed to that straight that he's falling away from.
Corners,
kind of
10 seconds. Seconds out, round 5.
And as we get to round 5 in our opening contest tonight, live on Boxnation YouTube channel, the crowd is starting to make its way in. A very early start. Still lovely October sunshine outside as Richie and myself arrived here at Bethnal Green. But time to get going with our opening bout, and time in this opening bout for Hamzah, but perhaps to get going a little bit more, Richie. 2 to go.
Yep, like Echo has said, that looping right hand over the top there. If he just steps to his left and just brings Owen onto that shot, then that's a shot that could most certainly work. It's all about keeping your lead leg on the outside against the southpaw and then bringing him onto that right hand. This is a little bit better now, but instinctively again, Owen Durnan just gets off the ropes there. Knows he's in a bad position, so his experience comes through. But yeah, just keeping, for Hamzah Butt, keeping that left leg just on the outside, and that'll bring Durnan then onto that right hand, because these movements will go off to his right hand side, left hand side should I say, his left hand side.
Durnan, to me, just sent out a tiny distress signal. I thought he was actually clipped on the ear hole more than anywhere else there, and I think he did feel it and took evasive action for a moment to regather himself. Does it cover up well on the inside, doesn't he, Durnan, as well? That's not making it easy for Butt to land to the body. Well, there again.
You see, keeps his experience, so keeps his elbows tucked in, keeps the chin down, and sometimes he'll put his lead shoulder behind, his chin behind that lead shoulder. So yeah, it's a difficult guard to penetrate. That's when you need to call on the use of feints here and there, Paul. Feints, and just try and trigger him off, get a reaction from him, just to get a little opening and then try and score a blow. So plenty of feints are needed here, but again, I think Hamzah's winning the contest, but he's just got to find room on the inside here and there. So look, there's an example there. Durnan just ties him up. So again, it's probably just a lack of experience from Hamzah Butt, just to take half a step backwards in those situations to maintain that gap and then punch through it.
Again, in glimpses. A little flurry or two in a higher gear. Here comes another one. And that energizes the crowd here a little bit as well, which is also a part of the job, isn't it, as a professional boxer, Richie? And fighters not only feed off the crowd, but they, in the physical sense, but ultimately they feed their families off the excitement they generate in the arena. That's what it comes to.
Absolutely, Paul. It's a sports entertainment industry
Exactly.
at the end of the day. This is a little bit better now from Hamzah, but this is where we're just going to take that half a step back and just to create that little bit of space. So again, like Echo said, this is a good learning fight for him.
Crowd like that a little bit better. Echo, over to you.
That was a good round from Butt. He was starting to, you can see he's starting to get his confidence a bit more, moving his head in little flurries there with little flicker moments and movements. He's letting his shots go a bit more as well. As Richie alluded to, it would be really good for him to get busy when held by Owen and get off some inside work. Maybe shift off a little bit, give himself room to actually land hard punches.
Are you seeing a fighter who lacks self-confidence?
I think I see a fighter who's building self-confidence.
I know you've all got to do it, but I would have thought your masterclass in being self-confident and having that self-belief would be well worth listening to. What would you say to him?
Corners, 10 seconds.
Just like I mentioned before, alluded to being comfortable, being uncomfortable. You just have to get stuck in
Seconds
it and
out,
not
6
be afraid.
and final round.
So all smiles. It's a nice steady piece of work so far for Hamzah Butt against Owen Durnan from Sheffield. A fighter with a very crowded appointments book, and already perhaps the next job will start to come into his mind if he gets through this last round safely, Richie, which to this point there's a little danger. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think it's fair, Paul. I think also with Hamzah, but it's finally taken him a few rounds to realise that he's got to close that gap a little bit quicker, keep the pressure on. That's what he's doing here. So he's definitely learnt in the fight, but I think Echo hit it on the head earlier in that there's a lack of experience in terms of boxing against southpaws, most certainly. And he's learnt in this contest. So these last couple of rounds, he stepped on the gas a little bit, closing the gap down, putting more pressure. And you can see that Owen Durnan isn't quite as comfortable as he was when he's picking his shots and he's moving on the outside and controlling the pace. So it's definitely better from Hamzah, and he's learnt that as he's gone along here.
I remember you ticking me off years ago, Richie, about something similar. Young fighter at a similar stage to Hamzah, but fighting a southpaw and not really knowing what he was up against. And I actually turned to you and I said, well, why did they not get a couple of southpaws in for 4 and 6 rounds, even in the week of the fight, to move around so he'd have an idea of what he was in against? And he said, Paul, southpaws don't come in one size and shape. Remember that.
Yeah, it's very true. Yes, but I mean, you know, in all preparation in boxing, you've got to have southpaw sparring. I mean, Echo, you know, he will agree with me there, you know, because you can come up against people who are switch hitters, who, you know, go orthodox, who go southpaw. So you've got to have southpaws in the gym. You've got to have southpaw sparring. It's really, really important. And you see it many times when clearly you see a boxer who is just not used to against boxing against a southpaw style, and that's just because of the preparation.
So if there's going to be a big finish, now is the moment, with 1 minute to go.
That's a little bit better for him, not working on the inside. Now he's just got to learn just to lean back a little bit and just create that space, but nevertheless he's doing more on the inside. Early on in the contest in those situations he wasn't really working, was he? But now he's starting to work when he's up close.
Durnan under a little bit of pressure, at least to finish out the job.
Yeah, clever work as well from Durnan on the inside there. You see, he's a much better boxer than his record probably suggests. There, he was just picking his shots there. He knows it's the last round, so he's enjoying himself at Durnan. You can see, but the odd shot on the inside there, very experienced. That's a good contest for both of them, but a good learning one for Hamzah.
6 valuable rounds. Probably a shutout, probably, we shall hear shortly. Hamzah but set to extend the winning run as a pro to 5-0. Well played Owen Durnan for his part in all of that. And as one small step forward, I think he probably gets a tick for his endeavours tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, your referee Kieran McCann scores the contest 60 points to 54. The winner in the blue corner from Southend-on-Sea, Hamzah Bott.
So there it is, a
Ladies
shutout.
and gentlemen, a
It
round
took
of
all
applause for the
6
brave and
rounds,
gallant
but
Owen Durnan.